All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to TableTalk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bad Luck Gamer, and along with my co-host, Glue Boy.
Hello, hello.
And I'm super red because I was out clam digging earlier today. So,
Fair enough.
so if you're like, man, he looks so red, yeah, that's why we were digging awu. Yeah, the awus are coming. So many awus. Yeah, so before we get to the small talk, I'm gonna say right now, hopefully, if you're watching the stream post the fact, catching up, doing whatever, we usually get to the topic somewhere around the 25-minute mark. We might not be able to hold out that long for today's video, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against if we got to it quicker, because, like, I only have one small thing that I, think it's table talk, small talk worthy in my life to bring up, because I think it's interesting. But other than that, I'm like, this book's too hot. I kind of want, I can't hold back, man.
One hot
It's like the werewolf, you know?
So we'll do our best, check in at, I don't know, the 15-minute mark,
Yeah.
10 minutes from now. We'll see. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do a little bit of small talk. So, go ahead, Alex. What's going on?
Well, recently, as in today, I did put out a new video for those who might be coming in for the first time. If you are interested in lore content, I have my own channel, Glue Boy. I do tabletop lore, be it Pathfinder very recently, Warhammer 40k, Vampire the Masquerade, Lancer, just stuff I like. I did a new series I'm starting up, a character deep dive. And the first character I decided to talk about is Fulgrim. And I like the video, and a good chunk of people also agree that the video turned out very well. So I'm quite happy with it. So go check it out. I'm a fan. Other than that, not to sway away from Pathfinder, but gosh dang, a bit wild D&D adjacent news just dropped today that is a little interesting and a little weird for any Dead by Daylight fans that might be in the chat. I don't know how many Dead by Daylight players are here or that watch the channel, because I don't know if you saw it at all, Cam.
I did. Yes, I saw the official thing.
Yeah, and the fact that I at least thought it at first too, but more than likely it's going to be Vecna, not like Stranger Things Vecna, but like Vecna. Because there's some little hidden details in the trailer, and then some other facts kind of lining up with the D&D's release schedule. And the fact that the beholder in the trailer that they showed is most likely a zombie beholder. There's a dark, evil, kind of spooky laughter in the background, and very recently after the trailer, a very big campaign book for D&D is dropping. So it's that's interesting. D&D is gonna be in Dead by Daylight. That's really weird.
Yeah, man, D&D has been spreading its tendrils as far as it can go. Also, hi Gabriel, how you doing?
And I'm also sitting here and I'm like, man, if there was something, is there a cool Pathfinder thing that could get dropped into Dead by Daylight? I'm just not familiar enough with the setting to confidently say. But that it could be cool. It could be very interesting. I'm hopeful. But I think it's very neat that it's occurring. That I like seeing tabletop being added to mainstream stuff.
Also, hello there, Ogren Grindset. Love the name. And also, I gotta ask for people who are watching stream, because it's something I've noticed on my stream. Is my stream stopping and stuttering for anyone else? Because I notice it's stops and then it fast forwards to catch up a lot when I'm doing it. But I'm also streaming simultaneously, so that might be one of the reasons for the issues. But if that's something for anyone else, I'd like to know. My setup has been doing weird things lately. Like in my Minotaur video, the audio was kind of garbly. It was just started doing that like a minute ago. Yeah, I've lost a little bit of frames. I don't know.
Yeah, because I haven't noticed it in the VODs, like posted on YouTube, but
I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, so like Beholder would be very interesting. If it was Pathfinder, I just took a shower because, you know, clam digging. If it was Pathfinder, I mean, I think it would be a very interesting twist for Dead by Daylight to have the oh great, darn it, what's that dragon called?
oh, the Conspirator Dragon.
The Conspirator Dragon.
That is peak horror stuff.
You have a power that transforms you into a non-current game survivor, just like another survivor from the roster that's not currently in play. So they have to remember who's there. And
would be fun because like there's been talk of adding like some sort of imposter style character for a while. And like how cool that would be as a concept.
Also, like having a much larger creature than normal that can chase you with like some limitations, like it has a harder time reaching into buildings and stuff like that. I think could be a very fun twist. So if it was from Pathfinder, the Conspirator Dragon, I think would be my choice.
Would be fun.
But yeah,
that was at least my one tabletop small talk bit.
I mean, to be fair, that might be the best thing D&D puts out all year.
I think so too.
So,
like honestly, so it's something. At least I'm happy for them. We have bangers in our camp, and then like this is the one thing that D&D's put out where I'm like, okay, nice.
Yeah, nice.
I'll enjoy this.
I mean, they have lots of good like IP stuff that they've shared around.
Yeah,
like Baldur's Gate, for instance.
Baldur's Gate, you know, when they give it to other people.
Yeah, when they give it to other people, because my God, I'm not going to go for the low hanging fruit today. No. As far as my news is concerned, this has been the weirdest week for me personally, because not only if no one knows, the book released like a week or two early.
It was like it's just like a sleeper hit. Like I didn't know it on your end, like how that released, because it was just like the PDFs were coming out, and it was like my first reaction on our Discord was like, wait, like leaks? It's like it's really early. It's like end of May. It was supposed to come out.
They don't want to do it too early, like a week early most of the time. And they admitted, yeah, it just released early. So, yeah, I got it super duper early, which I was not prepared for because my mother's in town this week. And so we've been doing a bunch of things while I've been scrambling to get these videos out to y'all every day. And today, no less, the first time I tried to upload the video didn't seem to work. Like, I uploaded the video and then we had to go to get some things for clam digging, and then like I was checking on it, I'm like, why is it not out yet? It should have been out like 30 minutes ago. So I had to come back home real quick and re-upload it, and the second one seemed to work. So
interesting.
It's just been a very unlucky week for me in a lot of regards, as far as like, hey, I'm super duper busy. Also, hey, new book. Cool. And in addition, we had to reschedule a guest appearance who will probably be next week, hopefully, due to something else coming up. So it's just been a week of I've been utterly unprepared for, and yet also we've been doing killer, like crazy good. We got like pretty much 40 subs just yesterday alone. and we're already 20 subs up today. Yeah, we're on our way to 30 here real quick, which is really big. And this is an even player core too. And this is after only 2 videos.
It's a
So,
hot video.
yeah.
It's a hot book release. It's a hot topic, and to be fair, absolutely worth it. Cause just every book they release, I'm like, how are they gonna top this one? How are they gonna up their own work? And then they come out and they're like this.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
So
it's worth it. It's very glad to see that everyone is just as feverish and coming to the videos, because they should be. Everyone should be watching the stuff you're putting out, because they need to know all this info.
you probably got the first How of the Wild Up video. Maybe. When did Jake from Wisdom Check do his video? Because I know Jake's been pumping videos out. He did a cheeky what's coming in the new book video. Maybe I might have. I don't know. There's no timestamp here for it, but it was pretty close. I'm surprised because I had to take like a day after receiving the book to like read and get ready. So it's been a and don't y'all worry. If there's something you want to know that's in this book, I will have a video on it. Tomorrow is Grafting, and then Saturday is Awakened Animals, and then Sunday is Wild Mimic. And I'm just rotating between Ancestry, Archetype, and new feature / class feature. I was tempted to do like the witch stuff before grafting, but I think the grafting rules are so cool. Being able to graft onto yourself monster parts is really sick.
It's really interesting.
Oh man, I'm way behind on the stream due to the pauses. Anyone else having pauses with the stream?
It's mainly on Twitch that it seems like it's an issue.
Let's see how long it takes for that to go through.
Because
Oh
on
yeah,
YouTube
I got
it seems to be fun.
a lot of delay. Like I've missed 20% of frames, and it keeps going up. I don't know what's going on. This happened. It hasn't happened for a while, but this happens every once in a while. If you're watching on Twitch, you may want to go to YouTube, even though YouTube's also just not the best. But it seems like both of them are struggling, so we will see what's going on. I was hoping that Witch would get at least one more arcane option. Well, this is a book for nature. Like, this book is the nature book, so that's why we're seeing just a bunch of creatures and primal stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a good book, so let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to reward those of you who are here today to watch the stream. So if anyone has any questions about anything in the book, Alex and I can answer. So feel free to ask your questions as we ramble on.
I guess while people are putting some questions in, just real quick, for a question for you that I'll give you, Cam.
Okay.
If you had to say one thing, be it ancestry, archetype, like one of those style of things, is there an absolute favorite standout character feature from this book?
Oh, that is a good question. I really like Swarmkeeper.
It is really cool.
Swarmkeeper is just like Swarmkeeper sounds like it could be a whole class onto itself.
It's like it kind of feels like a summoner light in an interesting way.
Yeah.
But it's like it doesn't operate exactly like summoner. It's like it's got a lot of interesting things, and like I was reading through it and I already have a Swarmkeeper character idea of
Yeah.
a mosquito witch rotting wood poppet.
Ooh. I like the rotting wood idea. I think that's a really cool idea.
It's the hollow poppet, and so it's just kind of he's hollow inside and filled with bugs. And it's like, this is really fun, and it's like, and then it's also the character that's kind of like accidentally terrifying with some really fun demoralize options. It's like it works really well also because it seems like Swarmkeeper works really well with Witch. Like it just works because I think because Swarm Forth is a sustained effect when you know how Witch works with sustain.
Yeah.
Like it slotted in really well. I was like formulating, trying to figure out like what class would work best with Swarmkeeper.
Skeleton Were-Rat Flesh Warp Guardian. To be fair, I don't actually think you can be a Skeleton Were-Rat because you have to have lycanthropy.
That is, yeah, what is the is there a prerequisite? Because that's something honestly my standout. It's really hard for me in my head to actually pick between Minotaur ancestry and the were creature archetype. Because I really like both. Yeah, were creature dedication requirement is you're born into a lineage of true were creatures or were afflicted with the curse of were creature. Yeah. And I don't think you can get lycanthropy as a skeleton.
I mean, okay, so that's one of the weird things where there's technically, I don't think there's anything preventing a skeleton from getting it. Did the stream die on YouTube? I don't think so. I'm still seeing the stream on YouTube. Also, oi man, spells, question mark? If your question is, are there spells? Yes, there are spells.
There are.
So, hopefully that answers your question. Well, the missed frame percentage is going down, so hopefully the issue is passed.
Hopefully.
But
the aspect I really enjoy is that there's just so much variety in were creature. Like it isn't just like werewolf and like werebear and stuff. They also have like were rat, were bat, like were shark. Like it's and then each one has its own like level 6 feat, all giving their own like special action. Is like that's so cool.
I think that's the right way to do it for sure.
Like it makes it feel like okay, you are actually playing a were creature, and like what you pick matters, which is the way to do it. It makes it feel like, like, okay, I am playing a were creature. My lycanthropy or like whatever, my curse will impact like how my character plays.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the biggest thing I like in a lot of this book is not only any cool new Warden spells. There are some cool new Warden spells, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But what I think I really like about this book more than anything is the options here are very play friendly. There's so many times you get feats in something that honestly sounds interesting on the surface, plays terribly in concept.
Yeah, there are a good number of stuff where I see that. It's specifically in Ancestries when I'm like digging through stuff and like Archive of Nethys.
And a lot of what I'm seeing here is very much like, okay, werewolf, hey, you just want to improve your strikes or improve your strides? Boom. Just get a better strike and a better stride. They're very solid. Very, very good. Oh, damn, they went full Dwarf Fortress on the lycanthropy. True. Warden spells. So some of the cool Warden spells is they've added some new initiates and advanced and peerless and master Warden spells. So they added new Warden spells at every level. I like Slime Spit, a really early one you can pick up that lets you hack goo into someone's face that does poison damage. And the success is they're dazzled for a round, which is really good, unless they wipe the goo from their face, which is a pretty good success effect, honestly.
That is, yeah.
Because if they fail, they're just dazzled until the end of your next turn, which is also really, really good. But they don't get to wipe it away from their eyes, so it's just like, they succeed the throw, cool. They'll still have to use an action to wipe the goo from their eyes, where everything is concealed. Kitsune Beastkin Werewolf. See, now that one is a thing you can do.
Oh, yeah.
Because I believe Kitsune have at least the humanoid trait. Because you need humanoid in order to become a Beastkin. Werewolfometers will be a nice build to try. I find that particular idea so funny. That's so ironic.
Yeah, that feels like peak Thaumaturge, like Monster Hunter like concept.
Ooh, another spell I really like from the Warden spells, Gluttonous Growth. You essentially in a 20-foot burst that contains all plants, you just turn the plants there into carnivorous plants that consume prey. So you just look at a bunch of plants and you're like, eat them, and suddenly a bunch of like fly traps and other kind of things come out of the ground. It's really, really cool.
I also have to mention, this isn't a Warden spell, but it is just a level 1 spell, primal spell you can get, because Ogre Grindset mentioned the idea of like a Disney princess campaign. There is a spell called Foraging Friends where you whistle and call a bunch of small animals like birds and mice to collect food and do small tasks for you.
Yeah.
That is a spell you can get now, so it is more doable than you're thinking.
Yeah, Disney Princess is a legit class in Pathfinder.
Yeah. You can do it. Just be a primal spellcaster.
What's the archetype where you learn from enemies they kill? That is the wild mimic.
Yes.
Does werewolfometers have to roll to know werewolves are weak to silver? I mean, technically yes, but technically at any point you can pick up werewolf lore as a lore skill and just know it. But being turned into a werewolf, even being born a true werewolf, doesn't mean you know anything about being a werewolf, honestly. I mean, the sheer number of people out there who don't know how certain parts of their body works, you
could have been born in a family. You could have been born in a family that just like didn't teach you, or like aren't even like werewolves, or maybe it's just like so separated from all that, haven't had to actually deal with predators, basically, human monster hunters or something, that like you just haven't had to deal with someone trying to stab you with silver.
Yeah.
You're just like, you come from a place that's kind of more ingrained with like, oh yeah, were creatures are a thing and we're chill with it. Then you go somewhere where they're like, whoa, we're not cool with that. You're like, what the fuck, huh? This is weird. And like, there's ways to justify it.
And to be fair, if you're talking about like exploit vulnerability, you technically have to do that even if your character has run into the creature before. Because it's not a knowledge thing, it's a feature thing.
Yeah, it's baked into how the thing works.
So, yeah, technically yes, but technically that doesn't not make sense. So, yeah, what's funny? Actually, now I'm thinking about it, because my favorite ancestry is also the circus. I liked a lot of the insect options from this book, a lot more than I was expecting.
There are a lot of good ones. That one archetype for them, or at least the one that's more based on them, the Astili host, is really cool.
Yeah,
like,
the host
I love
is really
the
cool
idea
too.
It's so fun, the idea of like the symbiotic kind of like parasite thing. Or just the symbiotic host of like this weird like slug thing is so cool.
It's very interesting. It's also such a body horror. It's such a horror-driven book in a lot of ways. Minotaur is just a horror monster. Minotaur is just a monster from Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, it's the part where because there was the part I saw being discussed in your comment section in your video, but like it's the fun part that I think is interesting, where the monster manual aspect of the Minotaur I think is kind of more shown in the mechanics. I wish it was mentioned a little bit in the lore, to be honest, but like the part of the Minotaur that you can play that is in the monster like manuals or the monster core, it like talks about that like they will fucking appear from nowhere in the maze, and they'll only go for the kill the moment they really believe that you are the most terrified and the most lost. Because yeah, you lose sight of them, you're frightened, and they can meld into like stone, and those are things you can do. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, those are that's terrifying, that's horrifying, and so fun. The Minotaur's like ancestry feats are so cool. They're all like so interesting. That was a thing I enjoy, because it's literally like you said, with the whole mechanically a lot of these features feel good instead of just sounding interesting. Because
Yeah.
really, in a lot of ancestries, building a lot of characters on Path Builder like I've been doing, you read through ancestries and you're looking through and you're like, this is garbage. Looking at you, elf.
Yeah, looking at you,
Go-
elf.
Good lord. Like ancient elf is the only good like ancestry feat. And then I'm reading these and I'm like, oh, these are all really interesting. And like I could actually use these.
The grafting will be an amazing new tool for adventure. True.
I'm really curious to see that in play.
Grafting is so cool. I love monsters, and so grafting monster parts on the characters I think is a super cool idea. And it's one of the cool things that it makes choosing like getting parts from monsters infinitely more exciting when you have grafting potential, because you're like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my god, I hope we can get the scorpion stinger so I can get a scorpion tail. That'd be cool, you know.
It's wild for a book to make me think, like walk away from it thinking, man, I kind of want to play like a wilderness exploration campaign.
Right, yeah.
Which this is coming from me, a man who hates it, who hates that. I hate survival realism mechanics in games, in like tabletop, because I find them really like annoying. But in this, I'm like, ooh yeah, like we're lost in the wilderness and like harvesting parts and like going through all that. That sounds kind of neat. I kind of want to be lost in these like weird, like horrifying magical forests. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. And they added new templates you can put on monsters in the game as well. So you have new ways to change the monsters that you can encounter in the game, which is going to be so good, because in our Plague Watch campaign coming at the end of this year, like the whole campaign, you're fighting altered creatures by the plague. So I have so many new templates to throw on creatures to change their stats. So like, you guys can fight. You can fight the same creature multiple times, and it could be very, very different depending on the template I put on it. So
Yeah, the creature adjustment stuff.
Just get
I'm
weird
really
template
curious. I think it'll be cool.
and grafting will be very interesting with the Plague Watch stuff as well. So.
Yeah, you have so many. You have both the Dark Archive and the creature adjustments from this. You have
True.
two aspects to take it.
My god, they added Lancer to Pathfinder 2. Kind of. I mean, like, this is more like the kind of tabletop experience I want. I want a game that gives me non-linear progression for characters. Give me a reason to make it where things that happen in the game can alter the characters. I don't want to sit and wait for XP to level up. Let me level up by attaching a crab claw to my arm, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
This is already in Pathfinder 1 and Starfinder 1. Yeah, but now we have it in Pathfinder 2. And we might see something similar in Starfinder 2. by God, and Starfinder 2 rules being very compatible with Pathfinder means that we have a lot of very interesting things coming potentially to Starfinder. So yeah.
I'm gonna be very terrified of the type of characters that are going to take the graft feat. Like the ones who are gonna be like, yes, you can trust me. My field of research is putting these parts onto you.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some very scary type of like scientist characters.
With
Yes, I
adjustment
want to.
stuff, does Mr. Rex finally have his threat to level 20 character goblins? I mean, goblins aren't a threat to level 20 characters in D&D either. So just saying. Goblin get free crit on you every round and you'll still destroy it. Were creature monks are gonna be insane.
Oh yeah.
Also, recently went to like a nearby store, like a camp store, and they have all kinds of like weird foods and fun stuff like that. Like they go and they freeze dry candy and then rebag it so you can have freeze dried candy, which is pretty interesting. I got 2 bags of jerky. The jerky one is my favorite type of jerky. It's a really good, thick but dry jerky, which I absolutely love. Like actually, like dried jerky. It was Cajun and ghost pepper. Cajun's really good. Ghost pepper tastes terrible and is spicy.
Yes, that sounds like ghost pepper.
And this is ghost pepper, and I've been nomming on it for a bit.
I don't trust store-bought jerky after making my own. I've been burned too many times. Once you have like some decent homemade jerky, most like store-bought, like the normal like Tillamook and like Jimmy Dean's, the store-bought jerky. Granted, it sounds like higher quality in general. It all tastes like dog food now. I can't eat it.
Yeah. I like this jerky, so.
It's probably higher quality. Usually specialty stores will actually have decent jerky.
Yeah. Looking forward to Claude Witch build. True. Witches can be very more martially thanks to some of the stuff here. Granted, you probably want to be a witch that has a good starting HP, like a Minotaur witch. But, yeah. Minotaurs,
Yeah, if you're going to be in close.
Minotaurs are so good.
They
I
are.
was not expecting to see an ancestry that's just so fun. It's just legitimately fun. I like how they can just shove their allies.
Yeah, like the nudge, the gentle nudge.
Yeah, friendly
is so
nudge.
like, it's just like, oh, excuse me.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna push you over here.
God. They're like, these ancestries are so interesting, and like I love the art for all of them too. Like, I don't think at some point I'm gonna play the Awakened Animal, but I think the Awakened Animal ancestry is so interesting as well. And I adore the art that is just the turtle.
Yeah.
Turtle coming out of the water. But it's very cool. Like the idea of a lot of the feats that really let you like make your own flavor of what the Awakened Animal is.
Is there a bestiary section in this book? Yes, they do have a
Yeah.
bestiary. They add new hydras and other like classic monsters. And they have new rules for making your own unique chimeras.
A lot of the monsters are very cool.
They are very fun and very interesting. Like, not all monsters are just threats. There's a goat that just turns, it petrifies itself when you scare it. And it chews rock and turns it into diamond encrusted cud. So, there's just fun monsters in addition to the really crazy cool monsters as well. They also added like demigod monsters.
I'm just scrolling through, like, yeah, there's like, it really goes from like, you know, some terrifying creatures you can encounter, and then I'm scrolling through this, and I found a hardhead moles that gnome children run out and play whack-a-mole with.
That's funny.
They run out, and they're moles that have like evolved these like really hard head shells, and kid gnomes will run out and just smack on the head really hard with mallets. And the moles literally enjoy this game because biologically they can handle it, and they'll actually like pop up in different holes for the kids to smack them in the head.
Is the Swarmkeeper archetype more interesting than the 5e Ranger subclass? I mean, yes, because you're playing it in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
I wouldn't know what I wouldn't know what to reference for the 5e one, but I think the best way to sum it up is it's like you're playing a very light form of a summoner. Is like a good way of just kind of like picturing it in your head. And like you have because you have like your swarm, and then a lot of methods as you level up of kind of like upgrading your main like a bug bite action, and like adding new little effects on top of your bugs biting. But it's like you have a swarm that moves around, and like you're sustaining it as like a summon.
And you can give it different kind of abilities, like fire ant stinging, spider web stuff.
It's not gonna like do a crazy amount of damage, but they all can do some like really cool effects, like sickening creatures, or making persistent poison damage, or even later on like carrying you with their movement. Like there's just extra abilities it can do.
Yeah, essentially you get access to a swarm creature that you can utilize whenever you want. Paizo is really good at making books that are interesting for players as much as GMs. Yes, I very much agree with that.
Yeah, this book, as someone who is just a player, is so much fun to just page through. Like the monsters are really interesting and cool. Like monsters are full like, oh, I kind of want to fight that. Oh, that's so fun. Of like a weird concept. The archetypes do the exact thing a lot of character archetypes should do, and are character provoking, where you're like, that is a character idea. I want to play that.
Yeah.
I also I enjoy the there's the it's the Philippit contestant, the frog
Yeah.
martial art using your tongue. That's so, I'm not gonna play like a living frog character, but like that is, or also with a tail. To be fair, it's a prehensile tongue or tail or similar flexible appendages, but it's like a martial art using an appendage like that, and that's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
Like I could see like a really interesting monk character utilizing that, because like yeah, it would make sense if you had a thing like that. You would find a way to train utilizing whatever bodily features your character has. It's dope, and it's those little like elements of like actual thoughtfulness in like character world building, and like that I appreciate from Paizo whenever they come out with books like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the pure ability to spark imagination in your audience is really good. And yeah, the flip it supposed to be, I guess, onomatopoeic, like it sounds like the thing it's doing. You have to have either a long prehensile tongue or tail. So this can be used in a variety of different archetypes. Frog is like the main one.
That's the picture it shows of a monk like with his tongue going around, like it's like a frog using like the tongue.
Yeah,
but it can also be like a lizard.
They do have specific features for tails and tongues separate as well. So, they definitely made it where it's like this is an archetype that lets you just have like a third limb, essentially. It's really cool. Is there a limit to how many parts you can graft onto yourself? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I have only been able to like focus on parts. Yes. Many of them, if not all of them, are invested items, so they do require one of your invested item slots. But this is Pathfinder. You get 10. or 12. So, like, you're just going to get some up. And also, thanks, Augur and Grindset, for the dono, $5 dono. What are your thoughts on Awakened Animal? Can I play a unicorn wizard? Yeah, technically. Like, some people might dislike this part about how Paizo does things. Oh, there it is. But they have balanced it to the point where thematically you can really just play anything you want to play. I know someone earlier was talking about being an owlbear. You can be an owlbear. The thing you do is you select an awakened animal heritage. So you can be a climbing animal, flying animal, running animal, or swimming animal. And these give you certain traits that you can utilize. And then each of these have a like an extra thing, and you can get features that let you use something like Tooth and Claw, choose a second animal attack appropriate for your animal type and heritage. So like you want to be a unicorn, and then be like, boom, here is a unicorn horn attack. And you can do that.
And like, then if you want to add on the extra flavoring, there's a awakened magic like level 1 feat where you can where you get one cantrip from the primal spell list. That's like an innate cantrip that you can just say was the like that is a unicorn cantrip or something.
True. Yeah. Heck, there's even an uncommon feat that lets you awaken other animals. So, like, there's some ways you could play some pretty fantastical beasts as excuse me, as a whatever kind of creature you want to be. They essentially have rules. Now, will it be perfect? No. I mean, it's not like you're an actual unicorn who gets the healing spell automatically for free or whatever. But you could be physically as much of a unicorn as anything else, and then easily get access to things like healing through other methods. Like, you could be a blessed one, awakened animal, and then you're essentially a unicorn at that point.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, then just be a wizard, and you just have other options too. Because I know down the line, or even like now, I know wizards getting access to some necromancy stuff that's like kind of healer adjacent stuff too.
Bring on the Gloctopus. There is an octopus gun. I think it's called like the Abyss Pistol or something like that. Wait, what is the requirement for awakening? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it thematically skinned, you can do whatever you want. Because there's no advantage to being something specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you are just an awakened animal because it's an ancestry, not like an archetype or something. Like it's just you were awakened. It's a rare rarity too. So if that comes down to it as well, like that means like your GM can allow it or not. I don't see why it wouldn't be okay. The only aspect is there's the part of the awakened mind feature for the awakened animal where you can use the diplomacy skill with animals of your kind that aren't like awakened, and there might not be too many unicorns going around, but like I don't know, like that feature, I'd give it up if I had a cool character concept. Like it's the concept at the end of the day that matters.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want to be 100% lore accurate, sure, that's your own prerogative. But, you know, people are asking for these options not because they want to be lore accurate. They want to do something goofy or what they consider fun. So, yeah. And technically, under choosing animal, they just give you some rough outlines. Like I said, it's nothing. You want to be a unicorn, you probably pick running animal, which gives you a land speed of 30 feet, and an animal attack of your choice of claw, jaws, or tail. See sidebar.
I also like there is a tab in the Awaken Animal bit where they say, choosing an animal. They say that you might work with your GM to talk about like what animal's right for you. We have feats like to really give you a wide range of options, but you might have to just make stuff work. Go wild is what it basically sums up to. Go wild, have fun. Because it references, you could even play an awakened giant bee if you really want to.
Yeah. I mean,
which is fun.
We were talking to James, and James was talking about being just a giant bee swarm keeper who is just like the queen bee of their swarm, and that's their character. Like, their character is just a living swarm, essentially.
Which is a great idea.
Yeah. Damn, must say, I made my peace with forever GMing, and I like it anyway, but now I may be sad to to not have the opportunity to be a player for once. Yeah. The bumbling swarm keeper. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, like, let people play what they want to play. There's really no object reasons not to. I mean, if we're talking like the ability awaken others, then it's based on the awakened animal ritual. But like, what a player plays is players are supposed to be unique creatures anyway. So, and that's actually a big thing I really, really like in this is, for the most part, they just kind of let you play whatever. You play an awakened animal, you choose your size appropriate for your animal, and you can be tiny to large. You want to play a medium size bee, like a bee that is like a humanoid size, you can do so if you convince your GM that it's okay. Find me and start playing lol. Also, we still have people looking for games all the time in the Discord, so
that's
don't
true.
Be afraid to call out for games.
We have a game recruitment channel in the Discord, so if you want to find people to actually play, that's a place to go look. And also, it's a bit that, just in case it comes up, be it from post the fact or even later in stream, it is something I'm curious will come up, but it was really fun when it came up when we were talking to James Case. The Paizo opinion, or at least his opinion on how to deal with having a large ancestry in your game, like as a player. It's like, but some of these situations don't suit playing a large ancestry. My brother in Christ, you're the one who picked being large.
Yeah, you picked being a land wereshark minotaur. You gotta deal with it.
You made this bed. You gotta lie in it. You're large. Squeeze through. Do it. It's like, you're gonna have to. Some of these things like are really cool, but you will have to sit there and really be like, is this a good idea to play? It's like with Merfolk. It's like, do I want to play a Merfolk? And I know that this campaign is going to take place in the desert. Should I play this?
Yeah.
I know I have to be submerged in water every 24 hours or I'll die. Is this a good idea?
It's like, it's okay. My character will die in a few days, but I'm sure we can figure out. So you guys walk through the desert for a week. Oh, your character died. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like, sometimes the character you're playing as might not be suited for your campaign, and that is okay. You just gotta think about it. That's what session zeros are for.
Is Howl of the Wild power creep? That is a question that I think depends on what you mean by power creep. Because Paizo has had a good amount of time to just make better feats, to get better with their algorithm, and to kind of push the envelope on things a little bit. So I feel like there's a lot of feats that mechanically work better in this book than some of their prior books before. But if you were to ask me, is the end power scale changed by Howl of the Wild? No. Nothing in this book is honestly inherently more powerful. Everything just works better than they used to. So, like, Were
Yeah.
Creature is completely based on using your unarmed attacks, which are good, but technically you could just use a weapon that probably is better. And also, specific magic items tend to be better, and there's really not many specific unarmed weapons besides maybe a couple versions of hand wraps of mighty blows.
Yeah, like you have these really cool unarmed attack abilities, but not many ways to like get better at it. And also, like, I don't know, whenever I hear power creep ideas, it's always flashes back to my days of playing competitive, like Warhammer 40k or just competitive gaming, where it's hard for me to like make the same connection for a game that is really inherently not a competitive game. Because it's like, I guess I don't see it the same way of like power creep where the idea is to sell the next product because like this plays better, the meta is selling what is moving product, where then instead this is the designers are getting better at their job, and instead of like this isn't just better or stronger, the vibe of How the Wild is more like a lot of this feels more usable, and like I have more options in front of me that I'd pick from, where in some other earlier stuff like in the core book there's a lot of options where I look at it and I'm like, why would I use this? Why would I ever take this?
Yeah.
It's just a problem you see in like older stuff. Anything moving forward when it comes to design, the stuff you're going to see in the first year of release is going to be significantly like different when they're like a couple years deep, because they're going to get a much stronger idea of what the game is at that point.
Let's see. I saw the question. New ancestry weapons? No. No new special ancestry weapons for any of the ancestries in this book.
God, that is a shame. That's a good question, and I'm sad to hear the answer is no.
Let's see. I must say I'm still a bit disappointed they didn't change the squeeze rule with remaster and distribution for the book. Okay, a lot of people misunder what the purpose of squeeze is. Squeeze is not like a minotaur fitting through a door. That's not squeezing. It might be counted as difficult terrain, and it might only be counted as difficult terrain in a combat scenario where time is limited and you need to be faster but more careful. But that just makes the door difficult terrain. Squeezing is like when you have to like bear crawl through a tunnel. That is kind of what squeezing is representative of. So don't overuse squeezing. Squeezing should only be used when it is reasonable to squeeze through a situation. Like, you get a thin tunnel that like people can move through, but they can't do it like easily or at a full sprint, then it's difficult terrain and it's not a squeeze.
There is a part in the book early on in the beginning where they actually talk about how to handle the idea of both large and tiny player characters. And a thing they talk about is the idea of not really punishing players for playing something large or tiny. Like the idea of like in encounter mode, like encounter mode, it might be different. Like that's, you know, some situations they will have to squeeze through. But in situations where like you're in a shopping, I think they literally say like when you're going in the market in town, you shouldn't be trying to make your Minotaur player try to like squeeze through everything. Or like if you're playing a large PC, they might take up a larger square. That doesn't mean they take more damage running through hazardous terrain. Like things like that. There are things to keep in mind to not punish a player for certain character decisions, like as a GM. And there are other elements of like, you're playing a large PC. There are light benefits, there are light downsides, but it's not like, it's nothing that's actually that intense from like what their large PC and tiny PC rules are.
Did you hear there's new class options in book 2 of Wardens of Wild? I have not yet. Typically, one, they don't ask us if we want APs for the content creator club stuff, which is very interesting. There's 2 new barbarian instincts and 2 new druid orders. New ancestry feats for the Endurande Agenican and any ancestry with the wood plant traits, and new class feats for other classes. That's really cool. I'll have to look into that. Please don't give me more work right now. Please, I have a family. I need to see them.
More videos.
More videos. Only videos. No life. Let's see here. I'm glad that a lot of the chat are people just making new ideas for characters and builds. That,
As it should be.
That is what a book should do. D&D, please listen. New books you release should make players have a bunch of new crazy character ideas. Please. The number of times we're just like, wow, how long has it been since we've received a book that offers character options? Over a year? Yikes.
The best
Over
thing,
several years? Yikes.
Yeah. The best thing these books can do is it gets those ideas flowing and you're just like, yes, yes, it's all expanded. There's a Twitter thread that I thought was really interesting of some guy breaking down mathematically how many theoretical character options exist in Pathfinder, like a second edition specifically, and like it's insane. It's a lot. It's way too many, and it's a book like this that drops, and it's like, uh-oh, the number increased a lot. This isn't like a small amount. This is a lot. God, and it should expand and like come up with all these crazy ideas where everyone comes out with a new wacky idea where someone is like, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because everyone, we all got these goofy ideas coming in our heads, and I can't wait to see what Howl the Wild ideas everyone has. I really, really want to play this like rotting wooden poppet. Like,
Yeah.
so bad.
That's a fun idea. You know, it's one of those things where like I'm very sad that I have only so much time to put out books and I can't just, or videos, and I can't just pump out like multiple videos a day. Because like I want y'all to see this, right? I think this stuff is really cool. I know many of you are dying to see it, and I want to be the one to bring that information to you. But the algorithm really hates when you do stuff like that. Unless you have a big channel and you have like a presence that lets you just pump out videos like crazy. Like if I pump out a video, I could be cheating myself potentially of tons of views, because most people, so the reason is, right, is the algorithm is only like putting out one of my videos or streams like at a time. So if I put out another video, the algorithm will stop showing the old video a lot of times. So most people only come to the video, and only less than 10% end up going to either another video or onto my channel proper. So that would be saying, hey, I know I could get 1,000 more views out of this video, but nah, I'm gonna do another video and cheat myself out of, 900 views, which is pretty sad. It's just one of those things where I have chosen, though, for the sake of everyone, to not rest and to pump out a video every day until the book goes live, which is not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. I might take a couple days next weekend off. We'll have to see. I may have a burnout day. We'll have to see. But I'm going to try to pump out videos every day until stuff comes out and y'all can see it. So, be aware. More videos coming. If you've not done so, subscribe, follow, like, join the Discord. Because a lot of videos are coming out, and I want to be the Pathfinder guy, okay? Is that wrong of me? Is it wrong of me to want to be the Pathfinder guy? I want to be the guy that everyone goes to see the new stuff coming out.
Gotta be the Pathfinder guy.
Someone's gotta be. Someone's gotta be. That's what I'm working for. That's why I'm working hard. How dare you? I dare. I dare because I'd hope to dream. No burnout, only more content. I mean, that's what Easy's doing here. Easy does this like, hey, did you know there's more content? The APs are dropping content.
You know, it's the part of Paizo where I respect the APs, where I'm like, I'm not somebody who will play them. Because Cam isn't somebody who likes to run adventure paths. But I like the fact that when they drop, I have something where it's like, oh, there's something to look forward to for me. I'll have a little option. That's crazy. There's gonna be that much. Goddamn.
There is, and then there's news to be found at PaizoCon at the end of the month.
So much.
Right. Yeah.
Forgot about PaizoCon.
I didn't forget. I knew PaizoCon was coming. It's actually one of the reasons why we didn't have the guests this week. No spoilers. But I've now realized I got to do a video every day. And then I'm probably gonna just have to sit here on any day that new stuff is coming out. And I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna have to research and then I'm gonna have to do a video. I have so much homework. There's gonna be major coverage of Player Core 2 at PaizoCon. I can feel it in my bones. Also, I think there's gonna be a lot of Starfighter 2 stuff coming out.
Oh yeah.
I know that stuff's been bubbling up. I really need to try to get a hold of Thurston again. I might just have to bug him again. I really want to talk to him about the Paizo stuff, or at least as much as he can talk about. Because I know he really, really likes it because he's been talking about it on Narrative Declaration lately.
And I want to definitely like talk to more people about Starfinder and look into it more because I'm pumped. It's like the game I like, but in space. Hell yeah, that's my vibe.
Shame we don't have a single person covering Pathfinder third-party stuff like Pathfinder Plus Team. Yeah, I mean, like, in the end of the day, this is a variety tabletop contest channel. And I don't want to only talk about Pathfinder. I do want to talk about the many other really, really cool tabletop games out there. So I try to avoid and swerve third-party content because that just makes a lot of work for me whenever I cover anything. Because like, what third-party content? Let's talk about Lancer's third-party content stuff. They're cooking over there.
There's some great Lancer third-party content. And like that's always the issue is like there's third-party content and you're like, this is objectively cool. But then you look at it and you're like, the problem is that's extra shit to cover when I have so much other stuff to cover. Because like I'm not like neither of us are running out of like subjects. I have it harder because I actually have to really hardcore avoid third-party content.
Yeah.
Like I have to keep my head on a fucking swivel because people are out here publishing third-party content and stealthing it in high quality, as if it's from publishers. Especially when I'm looking around for vampire stuff, like, especially because like older vampire content, White Wolf hasn't been. They're not publishing it anymore, and man, it's a little tough. And then 40K is such a long game of telephone. People are out here making fan cannons that like it's played up as like fact. It's really tough. And I gotta keep my head around on a swivel because I say a thing and then people are like, where did you make that up? I'm like, uh-oh. Did I lie? And I'm like, oh, I did. I just made that up.
Kitsune Warlock or Jenny might be more available for Starfinder interviews. Yeah, I don't know many of the people on their team, to be fair. I will check with my Paizo contacts. I mean, I've met Michael Sayer. I've met James Case. I'm sure any one of the many people I've met so far can point me in the right direction to get someone to talk to. But I will be covering Starfinder content, which is a lot. But yeah. Oh, so you're telling me that I have, let's see here. Let's count the days, kids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 more videos with no breaks. And then PaizoCon? Y'all want to do me a favor? For all the hard work, for the many jewels I provide for you guys, tell a friend of my suffering, tell a friend that they can come to me for any tabletop and Pathfinder related news, and sub to the channel. I have a wife.
Honestly.
I have a wife and 5 kids to feed, please. I do not have 5 kids.
No, just 2 cats.
Just 2 cats. I have 2 furry kids. Thanks, Gabriel, for the follow. Cause yeah, I mean, I knew this. I've been saying this. If anyone's been watching my channel since the beginning of the year, I've been saying I'm gonna take things slow, guys, because I know things are gonna get really hard towards the end of this year, or towards after the first few months. I was not wrong, but I'm super wasn't wrong. I have a lot of stuff to do, and like Howl the Wild. Let me tell y'all. Let me shill for Paizo for a second. Howl the Wild is almost 100% cover-to-cover player options. Like, there's monsters, but with grafting rules, they're technically player options.
Yeah, they're just options for me to pull from. And then like they have like some rules, and at the end there's some tables for the GM to fuck with the monsters a little more. Like, there aren't too many GM stuff in this. I think it's a good way of summing this up. It's mainly player options. It's so good.
Yeah.
Great book.
So, what are you doing? Order yours now. Order yours now. Oh, are there more high-level animals you can use for summon animal spell? I would imagine yes. I haven't gone through the animal lists. Yes. They've added a really good number of new beasts, which, strictly speaking, can be used, and animals. Also, for those who care, they have added new animal companions and advanced animal companions,
which are really fun.
They've added tons of new dinosaurs. They've added a devil T-Rex. A Thrunosaurus Rex, which is a super funny name if you know about Pathfinder lore.
I know Thrun is a place.
No.
Is it not? I thought I saw it as a location.
Thrun is a family.
Oh, I see.
They're the leading house in current monarchs of Chiliax.
Oh. Oh, yeah. I see.
So a Thrunosaurus Rex is hilarious.
Okay, that's really good. Again, Tyrannosaurus, like tyrant. Yeah, I get it. That's really good.
Oh yeah, a fun creature for you to summon, potentially. The Concert Frog.
I saw the Concert Frog. So fun.
So yeah, there's a ton of new things you can summon, technically, because they are just things you can summon, or classes of creatures that you can summon. I'm so happy they added a bunch of Hydras. I love Hydras, and I think they're really cool.
Is this a beast? You could also there's one I really enjoy that's really important to mention. It's the Hooplamander.
The Hooplamander.
It is, yeah, for
Oh,
your
yeah,
case. It's a
yeah.
161. It's the salamanders that bite their tail, roll, or large, by the way, bite their tail, roll at you really fast like a big wheel, and like slash at you. And they do bleed, persistent bleed. They like flat open ground so they can roll at you faster. I love them so much.
Let's see. I do want to check that out because it would be weird if beasts are the one thing you just can't summon in this game. Or summon animal. Is there really no spell that summons beasts? Thanks, Zach, for the sub. I appreciate you. You're helping feed my fur babies. Is there really nothing? That's... yeah, no beast actually has the animal trait. Those are two different things.
Still, there's some cool animals, like,
yeah, but
there's
like,
magnetic bulls you can summon.
You can literally summon dragons, but not beasts.
That is weird.
I think we gotta talk to John Paizo about this one.
Yeah, we got some more stuff to bring up.
Where's my summon beasts? Wait, I'm dumb. Did they add summon beasts in this book? I didn't look through all the spells yet.
Oh yeah. Let's check the spell list. It might just be new.
This would be the beast. The beast. This would be the book to do it.
I didn't see it right away.
You can summon a stampede.
That's kind of like summoning a beast.
And you can summon a Warden of the Wild. No beasts.
The answer is early on the design team discussed whether to have a summon for beasts. Many of us didn't have a super strong opinion, but the consensus was not to have one. Common beasts were not designed assuming there would be a summon for them, and there are quite a variety that would cause serious issues when summoned. If you'd like to add beast summoning, you probably could, but curate them very carefully.
I don't know how they would cause any problems more than, like, devils or anything else you can summon.
Yeah, like at this state, I don't see the problem.
Yeah. It's not that I necessarily disagree with it, because like who would know better, right? Simultaneously, you can summon dragons. Let me summon beasts. Hydras with their kind of regen probably. But yeah, but the thing is like with summoning, it's always balanced because they're so low level. And like a Hydra is only a problem. Like most summons don't die in combat situations anyway. So a creature that's just harder to kill is not necessarily a worse problem. But I don't know. I haven't tried it, so I will leave it to the professionals, but I think it's dumb.
Yeah, and I'd be curious if, like, I mean, if we, for like our next game, to be honest, if we just add in like, all right, here's just a homebrew spell, summon beast, it works like the other summon spells, and if we come up with issues, we can be like, all right, we trust the process.
But they did add animals, so
they did.
There's some cool stuff. Yeah. For those of you who have joined, because there's now 30 of y'all here, if you have any questions concerning the new book, please feel free to ask, and I will answer the best I can. We will answer the best we can.
The book is great. There's a lot of dope stuff, and more options for us to gush about what's contained inside, the better.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And like I said, this book feels really good. There are just a lot of options that are just good and feel good to use. There are not many options that feel kind of bad to use.
I definitely did not have a lot of times where I read through and then went away with ugh. Which is usually my reaction every time I'm opening up Path Builder stuff and I'm staring at something kind of garbo.
Is there a Wereshark stat block? Yes, and they added also Weremoose stat block.
A terrifying creature to encounter. A regular moose was bad enough.
Is there actual rules/advice on exploration games? Not the book for that, really. Or at least nothing that ever struck out to me, but this is mostly a option book.
I think if this was a setting or a campaign guide, it would be more like that. This is a lot of character options, not like game mechanics, except for the couple that are there. But again, there's still more kind of character optiony, like the grafting rules and all that.
Yeah. Also, don't worry, Uganda Forever. We have the perfect countermeasure for Weremoose. We have rideable orcas.
Yeah, exactly. And also, one thing I really enjoyed, big game siege weapons.
Big game siege weapons are really cool. I think that is a very fun option as well.
Especially because it goes into the idea of having your Final Fantasy style airship.
Yeah, or any kind of ship. Like you put it on your boat, go hunt the Kraken. Can you make a squirrel drake chicken? I wonder. Is there special specifications for the Chimera? I mean, knowing Paizo, the No. Okay, so they do have some slightly more things. They have special heads for creatures. And that's it. Really. Yeah, you just take the stat block of a Chimera and you just replace that with one of the heads. They also have greater heads for more powerful heads. It's not completely free, but you can just select a similar beasts. So I guess if your question is, can I make a creature that acts like a squirrel, drake, and chicken? Yeah, probably. I mean, like, hippogriff, wolf, and I don't know, rock. Rock could be the chicken.
Kind of, if you think about
Screeching rockhead. You know, they're chicken-esque.
They're close enough.
They're pretty close.
For some awakened animal feats, there are some very interesting ones. It is going to kind of depend on which kind of path you go down for what animal you pick, because there's some options of if you're a aquatic animal, you can take stuff about like having a better land speed, or there's a really cool chain of specifically getting a take flight action to not. At first, you have like a pretty not very effective flight speed that later on at I think it's level 5, you get a flight speed of 25 feet instead of 15 feet. And then at level 9, you have a constant always like fly speed of 25. You do get at level 13, it's an uncommon, but you can get the awakened animal ritual through awaken others. You can get yourself a burrow speed, or burrow speed for the digger feat, better senses for your sharp senses as an animal. A lot of them are honestly very mechanically useful, but it really is just like, what animal did you pick? Now pick the feats that are flavorful, rather than like, it doesn't feel as much of like, what build are you going for kind of vibe. At least that's my interpretation of the awakened animal.
Yeah, they do have some fun feats though, like you're so cute.
That one's a good one.
Train in performance, and you gain the impressive performance feat. And when performing for humanoids specifically, you get a +1 circumstance bonus on your impression with performance.
Oh, there's another one I really enjoy is Fascinated by Society, where
that's a good one, yeah.
Instead of the idea of like being a biologist for like humanoids who are just obsessed with nature, you're obsessed with society and just like civilization and like constructs and like the idea of that. And so you when you fail but don't correctly fail a society check to recall knowledge or decipher writing, you learn the correct information as you would a success, and erroneous information as you would a crit failure. You don't have any way to differentiate which is which. Just like, you're better at recall knowledge on those subjects because you're just so fascinated on man-made things. Which I think is very fitting for an awakened animal.
My god, centaurs have so much lore. What the fuck? But yeah, we're going to talk about centaurs. We can talk about centaurs. Do you know Chiron? I think it's Chiron. There's Chiron and Charon.
Charon is, underworld. Chiron is centaur.
Chiron. Yeah, Chiron. Centaurs are almost completely centered around the idea of Chiron. It's like they looked at Chiron and like, you're a centaur, you're the centaur of centaurs. And so they made an entire ancestry kind of based around that. Like, you have medicinal, herbal stuff, you have aid and teacher stuff, you have archery stuff. You have some other stuff that's a little bit more neutral. But centaurs are primarily driven to be helpful, good with medicines and stuff, and as well having like the physical characteristics of being a horse, like the ability to trample people.
You can also take a feat at level 5 to actually become a mount for another player character.
Yeah.
And yeah, like level 9, specifically in the Chiron idea, you are an extraordinary teacher with the Mentor of Legends feat.
Yeah.
Once per day, you can cast Heroism as an innate divine spell.
Which is really good.
That's really good. You can't cast it on yourself, though. Only for other people.
Only other people. But centaurs are pretty interesting. They're not the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I'm not most excited for it only for biased reasons, not for like mechanical reasons, which I think is a fair takeaway, right? Because there's none of these ancestries did I walk away from being like, that's lame. I walked away from it being like, I don't think I'd like to play it because that's not like my vibe, but like mechanically, those are really cool. It's like the same with like Merfolk or Awakened Animal, where I'm like, I wouldn't really play that, but like The Circe, the Minotaur are probably the Circe and the Minotaur are like my favorites.
I do think you can do some real goofy stuff as a Centaur commander, honestly.
100%. Oh my god. That's gonna get crazy.
Old Minotaur lore or new Minotaur lore? I mean, to be fair, I'm not super beholden to old lore. I just never really got into it.
I read what, because it was brought up with your video, I read what the old lore was. It's not even like that detailed. It's very much like Lamash 2 created the Minotaurs, had a bunch of women give birth to the Minotaurs. Like, you know, it's more in line with like the
actual
the
Minotaur
original myth. And when I'm reading the Minotaur ancestry, it feels more in line with how Paizo is kind of writing the ancestries for some of the other more, I guess, monstrous, or I guess like more typically more associated with more like evil-ish ancestries, like the same way goblin or like orc is. The ones that you could also open up your monster core and like find. It's like the one you find in the ancestry is very positive lore wise, and then you open up the monster core version and you're like, oh, this is like the complete opposite. Oh boy. Because like the goblin, when I was double checking, because I'm like, okay, like how is this associated with like another group that is also like a common enemy you could fight? The goblin is like so positive, like spoken about them, like, oh, what mischievous, fun-loving little scamps. They're so cool, honest, and fun-loving. I'm like, that's not what they typically are.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just, I guess, the difference between how they're written for an ancestry and how they're written for, like, you know, a monster, like monster lore. And I guess it's just written as like the duology. I think there's a better way of handling it, to be fair.
Yeah.
But when I'm reading the old Pathfinder 1 lore compared to like what their new lore is, I think the new lore is better written, to be completely honest with you. But I think there's a way of like combining what you find in like what currently exists in Pathfinder 2nd edition and combining everything together in something cohesive.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people are just gonna be upset about this for no reason, because like,
I saw that it was like, oh man, they changed it, and like change was bad, and I was like, that's what provoked me to look it up, because like, okay, is it actually? And I was reading, it's like, there's nothing here. What are you sad about?
Well, yeah, but like, I would rather every ancestry be written as this if they're just people. I don't need the book to preach to me why an ancestry is good, because every ancestry, if the idea is that we should just like them because they're people, then just write them like people. Don't make them seem overly like virtuous. Don't make them overly portrayed in a very soft light, because that one feels inorganic, and it feels like it feels like propaganda. You know, it feels like I'm being propagandized to think these creatures are nothing but good. And I would have much rather heard, like, the thing is I like the ideas they have for Minotaur. I like the idea of Minotaur being a race or an ancestry that is, they live in secluded cave areas. They like making things. They make buildings, sometimes just for the fun of it. I think that's fun. I think that's quirky. And a lot of them understand they're big, and so they try their best to portray to other people that they're not a threat. I would like that, but I would like the other half to be some Minotaur choose to use their power and their innate size to conquer others and to you know, live more like almost barbaric lifestyles. Because you know what? I would
like those referenced, at least.
Yeah, because it makes it really hard to, I feel like, accurately portray, either as a GM or as a player, how these ancestries are supposed to act when you get these overly flowery versions of them. And conversely, I also don't like the idea of like, well, this is just the evil ancestry and you play one of the good ones, right? I feel like that's a very bad idea. I like how orcs have been predominantly done because in the Mwangi, orc culture is very, very different, and I like how it's done. While orcs, kind of in like the Varishian Eye of Dread area, the Belkazan orcs were kind of like more like actual like villain orcs. Now that's kind of changing, but they didn't completely swing around. They like the Whispering Tyrant's kind of bad, and the last time we followed them, we died in like the thousands. We probably shouldn't do that again. We probably
A fair decision. That's a
yeah,
very understandable choice to make.
you know,
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I was looking at a bunch of the Archive of Nethys entries and like specifically the stuff that was updated in the remaster to see like, okay, how has Paizo been handling stuff like this? And it seems like their MO is, if it's written as an ancestry, it is all written in very positive language. Like very like, because Goblin also does not mention anything about like, you know, the history of like Goblin raiding and like how a lot of them are also shitty. And like that's the vibe I at least see. Then you go to like the Monster Core and it's different. And it seems like that's the vibe. I think that's not the greatest way writing wise of
right.
handling it. And at least, and then it just depends on your own personal takeaway. Because my own takeaway from it, at like once I looked into that, was like, oh, I wish it was referenced. So like my interpretation was at least like overt and not just my interpretation. Because I think you reference the idea that in Monster Core the Minotaurs are entities and how that hunt around in those mazes that they construct, and they literally like come out of walls, they hunt you down, make you terrified, and they strike out the moment they know that you're like at your most scared. And like the mechanically that's demonstrated in the Minotaur, like, but that lore wise it's not. And I would love it if that was like mentioned, because I think you could have the duology of it where it's really heavily like, so the ancestry, there's a lot of people in the culture that feel like they have to even harder like fight back against those kind of people, to be like, we even have to harder fight against that, like that stereotype. And like that would be for an interesting like culture to have to like live with, that like this group is so insular because they almost have to. And it's like, man, that's kind of sad. And also the other bit is I also am biased because man, as someone who grew up big and like naturally just strong, I can relate to the whole like having to hold yourself back constantly throughout your life and modulate your strength and learn how to do that. Because man, oh man, as a kid, when you're just randomly like suddenly getting growth spurts and getting strong and you don't know how to control your strength, it is a time where you're accidentally hurting people. And I'm like, I can relate to you, Minotaur, on that front. And so like that, there's a lot of elements that I like, but I think that Paizo's element can sometimes like not be perfect. And in that aspect, I could see them doing it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like along the lines of like toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can create something with the intent of doing good, but in actuality, you create something that seems artificial and overly sanitized, to the point where it's like, what's the point of playing? Like, why do people fear Minotaurs if the grand majority of Minotaurs are actually good? You know? Because in a world with literally tons and tons and tons of dangerous creatures, right? What makes the odd Minotaur any worse than the tons of bandits you fight? You know? You have more reason to be afraid of humans on average by the way they run things.
It's like it's implying that you have the knowledge of the like monster core before you like delve into it almost, which I don't think is the correct way of going about it. From a writing perspective, it's yeah, it's also the part of it's your own like walk away from it, because I think it's the thing I had an interesting time reading through the comments and also just seeing the chat talk about it too, because it seems like both of us and then people in the chat we're all kind of walking away with like different reads of it, because I at least didn't feel like it was preaching at me or like
I didn't
I walked
necessarily
away.
feel like it was preaching. It's more just like they were trying really hard to make minotaurs not appear monstrous, and it read that way.
That's fair. I didn't read it that way. I didn't get that interpretation of it. Like I didn't feel that when I was reading through Minotaur. I can see how like someone could. I just didn't get that read of it. But I mean, like that's the there's the elements of like the writing that I do think is like objectively could have been done better, which is good. And I also am happy that like Paizo is a company that actually like is noted to listen.
Yeah, and
Yeah, this is something they could address and could be like, you know, in some of the ancestry, it would be kind of cool to actually address like the difference of culture. And I like that hearing about the orcs and how they differ from like regions. That's a cool way of handling it, because they are people. People differ.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
I mean,
a good way to do it.
Like, if anything, I just like would like for things to read more neutral, because everything is just capable of both good and bad.
Yeah.
And that's just how it should be, you know. I think the ancestry description was highlighting the ones that became civilized. Absam also had an ambassador that is a minotaur. Yeah, I mean, I don't think minotaurs. If you were to ask me if every playable ancestry was inherently good or mostly good, I would be fine from that. But if you want your story to have people that you can disagree with, you need to create, you know, levels of you need to create levels of just grayscale in order for anything to work.
Yeah, because like yeah, that was my personal interpretation of like the ancestry bit when I dug into it. The problem is that I then had to kind of dig into it is the issue, where I think that with a couple of like lines or a paragraph, you can immediately call attention to the fact that there is an entry in the monster core of like there is minotaurs with different culture that live a barbarian lifestyle and kill people for fun. Like they are monstrous, and like they live in other regions, and they, you know, are monsters. Like there's a difference where I think that is the interpretation they are doing, is the ancestries are like more they're the type of minotaurs that are playable, not the ones that you'd actually fight. And so they're written in like the more, I guess, sympathetic light and the more like humanized light almost. I think that even in doing that, they like calling attention to the fact that there is the other side, I think is a good call.
Well, I mean, they kind of do. They mention in like a half a paragraph that there's
they mention that there's stereotypes.
Well, they mentioned that there are some that who also they're like who had bad dealings with other ancestries, who've sat in caves and are highly like aggressive and territorial, and they're the ones who propagate the idea. So it doesn't even really reference the monster, and like as a player character who wants to be a minotaur, you're looking at this entry for your an entire understanding of minotaur essentially. So it would be weird to like need to go into the monster manual to expand what you would know of your ancestry.
Which, to be fair, it's only a little bit, and only like talking about how they like to kill people and make people scared. Which even then is like so like cartoonishly evil, where you're like, this feels like it's you know, it feels like a monster manual entry. And then like the stuff when I was reading on Pathfinder 1e, because I was so curious what it was, I saw very little mention in Pathfinder 2 stuff. I didn't even see but apparently there was a lot of talk of a lot of Minotaurs like are worshippers of Bahamut.
Mm-hmm.
So like I didn't see any mention of that in current lore. And also like it's not up to date, but like the Pathfinder wiki is something good to go check for like book sources, and all the book sources of it are like quite old, like 2008, and there's been nothing else really giving Minotaur any lore since like now. So this is like the most we've got.
Yeah.
But also it's interesting enough, the lore region completely changed.
Yeah.
Like that is it is a complete origin rewrite.
Also, thank you, Ruben, for the sub. I appreciate you.
So yeah, it's like it is interesting, and then like even with like the flaws that I think we can both like point out, Minotaur's still my absolute favorite ancestry.
Yeah, like I said,
it's so good.
That's the thing, right? Is in the end of the day, I don't dislike the idea behind Minotaur culture. That's I like all of them in this book. I don't feel like
cool.
In general, I don't think it's necessarily a bad take to try to take an understanding view on a particular ancestry. It's more just like I don't like the idea of portraying any ancestry as like in like as being generically good or virtuous, you know. Especially because that doesn't translate to humans. Because like everyone knows people range, and that should just be the thing. Like if everything's going to be equal, just make everything equal, you know. If Minotaurs are going to be portrayed as like the majority of Minotaurs are these kind of secluded crafter types, that's fine. And then in the monster section, you need to just be like, for the Minotaurs that have chosen to fully give in to their bestial nature, to abuse the strength they were given with, and the skills that they have innately, this is what it is. That's how your monster manual should be written, you know, as if it's a sapient creature, it should be an outlier.
Yeah, like call attention to the fact that it is a thing that like they're doing, and it's a differing option. I think it's that's a good way of handling it. And I think it's like me reading into it. I think if we were to ask some of the writers, it's the idea of just like the ancestries are written in a way to like they're written in a very positive tone, and then outside of that is where they add the nuance. But I think like you could add some other stuff to it, because I also would be happier if like you just make the lore a little bigger. I'd make my job easier at least for like learning about lore. I think it'd be a good thing to add personally, because I agree. I think adding that grayness into like to people reading about these ancestries when they're coming up with their characters also gets the character ideas flowing.
Yeah.
It helps you in the character creation process, because then you're reading about it and you're like, oh, I have some character concepts. Okay, let me get writing. Let me get working on this. It helps.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's just like, to be fair, if it's also overly good and overly flowery, right, then how is it like, what if I want to have a character who had a bad home life growing up? You know, that's a very understandable, relatable storyline.
Someone who like is from one of those, like, say they're from a Goblin Raider tribe, where do I go to learn about what those Goblin Raider tribes are like?
Yeah, or it's just like,
yeah,
or what if it's just like, it's just like it just doesn't feel like we're talking about people. It seems like we're making very wide generalizations about an ancestry, and that just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when you do it in either direction, positive or negative, because positive racism is still racism, right? So, I don't know. Centaur was the only one that has so far really struck me to do that. Where do I go to find out what the elven raider tribes are like? You know what? Exactly. Elves are also really terrible about being written overly virtuous. And that's a Lord of the Rings thing more often than not, but like they're also really terrible. Like the worst elves are written is they're snobby and kind of racist against other races because of a superiority complex.
To be fair though, Lord of the Rings elves are not like that. They are actually like, they're basically just people, like they're very normal people. They're very not snobby and dickish. The only reason that they're dickish to humanity is because of centuries and centuries and centuries of dicking over by humanity.
Well, what I mean by Lord of the Rings is how they are portrayed in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they are very magically like flowy, and like, oh, we are glorious magical beings.
Yeah. I'm not talking about necessarily how they are strictly in all the Lord, but like specifically how they're portrayed in Lord of the Rings is they are just all like they're the perfect beings is very how they're written in a lot of things.
That's why I like that Elrond is kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like he in the book, like specifically, he is kind of a dickhead. Like he's not even like a like holier than thou guy. He's just kind of a dickhead. And like, but he's a dickhead where he's like, yeah, he's got a point though. He's kind of right here.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, that's the thing, right? Give me people who can be assholes. Give me people who are just people. That's what I want. Give me the spread. Give me the gnomes that are so fascinated and so wondrous and inquiring, but also just have a tendency to just abandon their children when a new thing just catches their attention and takes them away, you know?
Like the horde of human orphans that they adopted and then taught them how to use the flick maze.
Yeah, exactly. And then abandoned them immediately afterwards.
I still firmly believe that Paizo needs to make that a lore fact somewhere. That there is just a horde of gnomes that adopted a fuck ton of orphans to like just to justify that weird meta trend. I'm very strong about that idea. Just give us something, just like a little tidbit, like a sentence or two mentioning it. Just hide it.
Yeah,
I'd do that if I was somewhere.
Little lore tidbit.
If I was working at Paizo somewhere, I would hide it. I would make it my mission to hide it somewhere. Just to see how long it would take for someone to find. Like just the epidemic of gnome adoption.
Yeah. And for Watcha, currently I think that is just the case for all ancestries. Is whatever you get in your weapon familiarity. Yeah. Your familiarity, well, here's dwarves, for instance. Your familiarity with dwarf weapons plus the battle axe pick and warhammer. For the purposes of proficiency, you treat these weapons, any of these that are martial weapons, as simple weapons. So yeah, that's just the case for anything. Any weapon familiarity thing essentially decreases their familiarity down by a step, down to a minimum of simple.
I am still sad that they didn't add new weapons for some of these ancestries.
Me too. I mean, the word count in the book.
Weapon.
With word count in the book, I understand.
I get it. I'm still sad.
No
Especially
problem.
Because they added some stuff, didn't they? Because like they added they added magic items, I guess, which is the stuff that they wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they could have for sure.
Just like a couple.
I think the problem is that you come to this kind of apex of design where they've made a weapon of almost every configuration of damage and type that fits their algorithm. So if they do a lot of other things without inventing new traits, they're just going to be rehashing the same stuff. So
Exactly. Like it would be the kind of thing of they would really be rehashing, and like you'd look at it and be like, this is the same thing as this, isn't it? Because how far do you go where you're just like, this is the same weapon as this, it just has a different name.
most of these already have natural weapons to use anyway. I would disagree. I mean, technically, yeah, Minotaur has their horn for sure.
Awakened Animal
really
has
doesn't.
their... Yeah, the Merfolk is the one, and then I don't think the Circi have a... I don't think they have a natural weapon.
All weapon permutations taken. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing. They'll add new traits. I have confidence that they'll add new, different, interesting types of weapons. But it's just kind of one of those things where Paizo has made an incredibly balanced game, which means that there are just limits on what they can do. Circi have a heritage for a claw natural weapon.
I was wrong. They got something.
Centaur, oh, well, I guess Centaur have... Do they have a hoof attack?
They could probably kick. If they don't, I mean, they'd be crazy, because you have to be able to kick somebody. Yeah, they do. Iron Hoof. The Iron Hoof Centaur heritage has one too.
Oh.
Yeah, then Steel Hoof is that's the prerequisite. It just increases the damage.
Improved version.
Yeah, you kick someone in the head. Yeah. Because I'd be like, you're a horse, you got it. Because like, getting kicked in the head by a horse is that'll fuck you up. I love the big tables of animal traits. God, it's like, it's the part that makes me want to play a were creature so bad. I really want to play a werebear, like so bad.
Yeah.
And also like, because werebear, and then you could bear hug the opponent.
Yeah, like, I mean, were creatures are cool.
They're so cool, and like every single creature gets a different like thing. Like completely.
Yeah.
Just it's very cool. Like there's so many options here. And like I can't wait for the other books that are gonna be this book again, but with just different flavors. It's not nature. Because I'm not a big nature guy. Like famously. Some people know this. But even then, this book is dope. It makes me want to have an exploration campaign.
Yeah.
I want to explore the wilderness.
Man, they even added new alchemical items, which I'm like, ooh, I really need to play an alchemist. And you know what's crazy, right? We have Player Core 2 coming out in July, and then immediately in August, we have the Qianxia character guide.
God,
which is just going to be another book like this one.
Literally, and I'm so excited for the Samsarin. And then whatever those the Magus stuff's gonna be, and then whatever other stuff that we even haven't like been fully told about. God, it's so cool. This is so dope. You have so much work to do.
Crying. It's I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, right? The many people out there who are talking Bloat Finder, who are like, there's too many options in Pathfinder, they can suck my big toe. Because why would you want a game with less options?
I get the concern, or I get the worry, but like I think at the very least there's enough stuff or enough methods of separating out the extra content that it's not that major of a deal. Well, and like it can seem scary at first. I get it, because I know Pathfinder First Edition had that has that reputation of like there's so much, there's so many books, and that's scary. That was scary to me when I was trying to get into when I was looking at Pathfinder. Like, oh, that's spooky. There's just so much content. Like, where do I even start?
Yeah, well, I will say though, in Pathfinder First Edition though, there's a right and a wrong way to build characters. So, like, feat bloat is actually a bad thing in first edition because honestly, depending on the type of game you're in, admittedly, you could just be looking through a lot of stuff that's just not going to be good for you in the end because there's just more optimal paths. Pathfinder 2nd edition there's really nothing you can really do. Like, you keep saying I should make that video the worst character possible. I will make that video the worst character possible. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking of a build for the worst build ever.
I'm excited. I want you to make that video. I think it would do really well and embody that concept. It's twofold. It's both a great video for the algorithm and like it's also proving the point that Pathfinder 2nd edition is just kind of built in. It's really hard to purposefully make something bad.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I've been thinking about it for a while. You will
just always make something kind of fun.
But like in 2nd edition, you can play pretty much anything, as long as like you're playing with a general understanding of your what you're doing. Like, you're a wizard, have intelligence. You don't even need max intelligence, really. No one even needs max anything, you know, unless that's the kind of game you're playing where you're being pushed to the absolute limit. Like, so more options in 2nd edition is literally just more fun ways to play the game, and not like how do I find the good feats from the bad in this mess of a bazillion feats and ancestries and classes. You know, like, if you get choice paralysis, that's fine, and the easiest answer to that is just start from the core book and move forward.
That's always what I say. Like, I always just mention, like, if you're trying to get into it and you're trying to like, it is overwhelming at start, but honestly, I always recommend, like, start with core. There's a couple classes you should maybe avoid. Just play like something like this. Start at like level 1 and just work from there. Don't go too crazy far. Just like level up as you go, get a feel for the game. Like, it's not, just don't go too far. Don't swim too deep. Just kind of lower yourself in slowly. Like, learn to swim first and then dive in. And because, like, you know, it's like any game, honestly, because any game can be overwhelming if you go in head first.
Yeah. Well,
even like D&D, for like someone who's really new to tabletop, can get really overwhelming really fast.
It's just like, you know, it's like you go on and you see all the classes and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like I said, what I did with D&D and a lot of games is just like, I just took core book and I just played through core book. I played using those options and get used to it, and then you'll get an idea for a new character, and then you go down the rabbit hole, you follow the idea train down to another character and another character and another character, and then you're Alex, who's made like a character every night for weeks.
I've done that, yes. I have a good amount of characters built.
The urge to deny was strong.
Yes. I haven't built many in a little bit. It's been a minute. I actually don't remember. Have I been like a fugue state building characters? I have to open up Path Builder to like check myself. Oh, yeah, okay, I did make another character recently. Oh. The fuck is this one? What is this guy? It's just named Unkillable, and it's a level 1 Thaumaturge with Amulet. What the fuck is this?
I have no idea.
And then the other thing I built was I did the most recent character I built, because I did do my every class challenge thing. I've made a build for every class. And like like 2 or 3 of them I think are interesting enough where I like maybe would play them. I did make a Paladin of Kofusashi.
Ooh.
Because I like him. And I wanted to play, I was like, all right, I was thinking of a class idea, and I was like, okay, what if it wasn't a cleric? And the idea is just like a wandering samurai, like a Ronin of Kofusashi. And it's like that whole idea of the like a really lucky samurai who really protects the happiness of others and like the freedom of others.
Yeah, you made Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, it's really fun. And also, Kasuga Fusashi is my boy. I love him so much. He's my favorite god. Followed so closely by Sun Wukong.
Pretty good choices. What are you guys expecting for the champion changes? Not a lot.
Not
they're
a lot.
going to be very driven by edicts and anathema, and that's
I'm curious what it'll be, but
predominantly
yeah.
going to be it.
Yeah, it's nothing that crazy. It's just going to be like the fixing up the fact that like alignment isn't a thing anymore. That's really the main thing, and even then, like alignment being removed is not that big of a deal. It's just patching up where it is.
They added spirit damage, so
exactly spirit and void.
If anything, champion might be one of the only classes that are like purely restricted to either holy or unholy. But I don't even anticipate that. I think they're just their features are gonna do they're gonna do damage, spirit damage to those who break their anathema for them or whatever. Something along those lines. Or they just might just be forced to be holy or unholy. Which makes sense. I mean, they are a duality class in the end because they have the good and the dark variants. So
yeah, you can play like a good or evil.
So you're gonna play either a holy champion or an unholy champion.
Yeah. And also because like champion are in a state that I think is solid enough where they don't need, I think, a tune-up. They just need to be patched up where the removal of alignment is causing friction. That's really the only thing that kind of needs to be adjusted. Anything else is going to be a bonus.
Any thoughts for Summoner and how they'd change it? Well, first, make no assumption. Summoner is not getting a remaster. At most, an errata. And honestly, only probably like the few Eidolons that don't work as well anymore, like Fae. The Fae one really sucks because there's no longer schools of magic, so some of their features kind of got messed up. And I think maybe some of their islands did like good and evil damage, and I'll probably just be changed to spiritual holy or unholy.
Probably, yeah, because the only classes that'll be in Player Core 2 is Alchemist, Barbarian, Champion, Investigator, Monk, Oracle, Sorcerer, and Swashbuckler. And like Oracle and Alchemist are the two that I think are talked about that are going to get adjusted like the most.
Yeah.
And those are also the two classes that I think need the most adjustment and are agreed upon to need the most adjustment. Not even saying that they're broken classes. They just need some good old adjustments. Sorcerer, I would love if it had a little bit of a facelift. I don't think it's totally necessary. It's just some of the bloodlines are underwhelming.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's a few of the older classes I feel like just need to touch up. The class I really want the most touched up is Magus. I feel like Magus just doesn't flow well and is kind of a cluster truck to use. So, you know, that's the big one, but they're not getting remastered either. So, Alchemist was fine. I think Alchemist is good. People are just whiny.
Alchemist is good. It's just hard and complicated, and that's why it's bad.
Yeah, but it's hard and complicated because it's a class that its class features are mostly items, which is
and that's hard. There's so many items,
and I think it's fine when there's a class that's like that. You know,
there's so many. So much reading, Cam.
And I'm sure they'll probably just do the War Priest appeasement of, okay, Alchemist now gets Master Proficiency at level 19. Yeah. Fix the class, and then everyone will be happy.
I have never played a campaign up to level 19, but I'd be happy about that.
Yeah. So.
It says everybody on the Reddit.
Right.
For some reason.
Exactly. It's goofy.
I've been stalking the Reddit more, and it's I get so much delight reading the opinions of these people. It is so
I
funny to me. I'll be real.
I'm so scared of being more and more on the internet. I'm more and more scared of being on Reddit because I know I have a lot of ideas that really just don't mesh with people well because like I've talked directly to some of these people of just like alchemist is bad because this is just like that's very shallow and that takes very little into consideration. Are you sure about that? And they're just like, there's nothing that an alchemist can do that they can't just give to a fighter and make better. And it's just like, the alchemist is the one making the things they're giving to the fighter to make them better. So that is a bonus. If that's the way you want to play. If you want to spend extra actions to make your fighter use your kit better, sure. Or you could just use your kit and probably aid the team a lot better than the fighter could by giving them all your stuff. My only gripe with the alchemist is they don't have martial weapons. You know what? I agree with that. I think that's a very valid idea. I think there's no reason for them not to. Because they don't have the same damage scaling as weapons do, or spells do. So just give them martial weapons. If you're gonna give them a reduced proficiency, let them have martial weapons. They're probably gonna have martial weapons. That's probably like 100% locked in, especially because Rogue just got that as well, and like a lot of other classes. So my ranger alchemist is what's keeping the current party alive. Yeah, so you know,
It's all around a good class. It's just my main bit is I find a lot of joy reading the opinions of a lot of things where I read it and I'm like, this reads like opinions of people who do not play tabletop and
yeah.
math out tabletop. That's the vibe I get from a lot of redditors.
This is theory crafting white room combat tabletop and not
and like
reflective of actual in practice tabletop.
this is not, yeah, this is like these characters and like these like takes or stuff of like, I like this might work. I don't know if this would work in a game. And also it's like I'm reading this and I'm like, some of these opinions where it's like, if your GM is running your game like a war game, I mean, sure, maybe this is a concern. It's like my takeaway of like a couple of hot takes from like some new additions, or like this thing is just broken. It's like not really, but okay. Or just like these are the only viable options. Like, well, not really, because like if you're taking these, wouldn't the GM then balance the game around that these are the classes in your game? Isn't your GM balancing the game around like the characters to make sure that the game can continue? Isn't that what the goal is?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like death is an option, but also like the goal is to not end the game. The goal is to like also continue the game. I don't know. It's weird. The Reddit opinions are funny to me, so I get some joy every once in a while, just like perusing and like just seeing what's on the front page and like being like, this is funny, and then I look away. I don't use Reddit. And
well, see, my problem is I make videos on it, so they just have something directly to point to. I got like something wrong in a Lancer video, and someone's just like, I just don't want my players to go and be like, look at Mr. YouTuber who said this and it was wrong, and then come to it and bring it to my table. YouTubers are by no obligation meant to be correct 100% of the time, and the purpose of my content is to point it out to people and to like elucidate people on the opportunities. And you know what? I'm like 90% correct. So the 10% I get every now and then on these videos, sorry, you do it then. You do it. Make a video. Make an interesting video that people want to watch. Anyway, it's probably time for us to go. So for that, we're going to go ahead and end for today. Thank you all so much for coming to check out the How the Wild stuff. Stay tuned. Next week should be a guest appearance. No promises, as obviously there was supposed to be one this week, but we didn't have it. But I have something scheduled, something supposed to keep up. As well, subscribe, follow, tell your friends. They want to see Pathfinder content. This is going to be the channel to be. No one's going to make as much content as I do. And I'm going to be making content for like weeks, like with no rest. And PaizoCon is coming up. So if you want to sit and chat with me during PaizoCon streams, we might do that too. So yeah. But Alex, do you have anything to leave us with before we head out today?
Yeah, if you are interested in lore content, largely Warhammer 40K, but also Pathfinder 2nd Edition, games like Vampire the Masquerade and Lancer, come over to my channel Glue Boy. Just look it up, or it's linked in Cam's YouTube. I recently put out a video that's going to be a new series I do every once in a while of a character deep dive where I overanalyze, like, a character. It's a character deep dive. I put out a video today on Fulgrim, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. A lot of people are also really happy with how it turned out, and I'm happy to see that. So yeah, go check out my channel, watch some of my stuff. If you just want Pathfinder content, I have a video on just Pathfinder 2nd Edition, like an overview. And then I have a video on the lore of Tian Sha, what's been introduced in the World Guide. I'm also very happy with that book. I was a big fan of it.
All right. And I just complained about everything I'm supposed to be doing, so stay tuned. Anyway, that's going to be it for us. I guess we'll say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.